The University of Virginia is home to over 20,000 students. Each one of these students has a unique background, story, perspective, and identity. One group that has a particularly interesting perspective is first and second generation American students. First generation students who have immigrated to the US themselves, as well as second generation students who are the first American born people of their families, have the unique experience of navigating both the culture of their country of origin as well as American culture. In an attempt to understand more about the perspectives of first and second gen Americans, I gathered 5 UVA students to describe their experience both in American society and specifically at UVA. These are their stories. Can you please say your name?
Yeah, my name is Adam Shree.
My name is Naveen Logashamdan.
My name is Lucas Banerjee.
Armand Mohameta.
Hello, I'm Rami Ramari.
Both of my parents immigrated from China. One is from Qingyuan and the other one is from Ningbo.
So my dad, he immigrated from China in his mid-30s, and my mom immigrated from Taiwan in her early teens. My dad is from Tianjin, so it's one of the cities right outside of Beijing, and my mom immigrated from just outside of Taipei.
They immigrated from India, like southeastern India, Chennai.
My mom was born in France, and my dad was born in India.
Albania.
I grew up in Morocco, so I came here to the US.
I think they did so mainly for the economic opportunity, just getting to a place where they would be in a position to best secure their own financial security and also be able to raise a family.
Yeah, for both of them, actually, it was for a better life, to try to find more opportunities for work and their career. They were both in their master's program when they moved to America. They both did their undergrad in their respective countries, France and India, and they came for their master's.
My dad immigrated to America because growing up, he always felt like he was didn't really fit into the Chinese culture as much as like some of his peers. He enjoyed like Western films, watched a lot of American movies, and really enjoyed the culture of America and kind of chased that American dream in the traditional sense. And so that's kind of what he wanted to do. So he kind of gave up his life's work to come here and try to start a new life. And then for my mom, it was sort of a similar deal, but instead of her kind of making that decision, it was more so her parents. So my grandparents kind of chasing that as well. For my father, there was some economic influence. I think he saw his life being kind of capped in a sense, as far as his opportunities for pay and jobs, and so he wanted a place where he could kind of make the most of his skills and what he's given, and so that's kind of one of the reasons he moved to America.
Well, they came on a lottery visa. So there's like a lottery visa. It applies to every country. There's like a certain number of people that can come in. You just apply for it, and you get chosen at random if you win or not, basically. And they said that there was missionaries that had came to Albania, and they had met them. They became good friends with them. So whenever they moved here, the missionaries lived in Chesapeake, and that's why they ended up going to Chesapeake when they got here. I think they were like 30 at the time, 31. I mean, they didn't speak any English. My sister didn't speak any English. She was 4 years old at the time. They had to go to school to learn it. It was about 5 minutes away from where they lived, I think. It was a 7-year process, naturalization.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem, or maybe not problem, but the biggest challenge was probably like the assimilation process and them just getting accustomed to American traditions and ideals. Like, I remember there was a story once, like my uncle, he didn't know what Halloween was, so when like kids were knocking on his door to get candy, he had like no idea what to do. So he just like took the candy from the kids, he didn't know what was going on. So it's like stuff like that. I feel like because I was born here, I'm pretty much 100% assimilated. I'm able to kind of identify, where my parents have not totally assimilated and where I have, and just like be able to be cognizant of those types of differences between like myself and my parents.
So when I came to the US, they like put me in like a English speaking program, and I was in there for like about 2-3 years until I like fully learned English basically.
My father somehow got connected with someone that promised him a one-way ticket to America and a passport, and so it was kind of like, it almost seemed like a scam, but he was willing to take that risk, and he took his life savings and gave it to him, and he ended up being able to find his way over. And then for my mom, it was a little bit more of a clean cut process, I think, because my grandfather was in the military for Taiwan. It made it a little bit easier.
Definitely. I think my parents were actually really good at that. Growing up, I always attended Chinese school every Saturday for 2 hours. So not only did I learn about the language there, but we actually learned about a lot of the traditions and the cultures. And just growing up at home, we've always spoken Chinese so that was my first language. And then lately, I'll be honest, unfortunately, we haven't been speaking as much Mandarin, but it's still there, and I'm really grateful for it now.
I think it's a lot of just fitting in like the holidays and food and the traditions into kind of the American lifestyle. Yeah, definitely. I definitely try to stay as connected to my culture as possible, just because I hope to at least bring that sense of sense of culture to my kids in the future and stuff like that. So I try to learn the language as much as possible. I've taken some classes at UVA about that, and do my own research as far as my history and stuff like that.
I was just over in Morocco this past winter break to like see family. It felt really good to like speak Arabic and French again.
Do you ever feel culturally disconnected from Albania at all?
No, my parents make it very relevant in the household, and all my friends are American, so I'm also like, I don't feel disconnected from American society either. But whenever I'm at home, it's very prevalent.
What are some of the things that your parents and your family do to kind of preserve that sense of culture?
Well, they only speak Albanian in the house, so I understand it fluently and I can speak it with them whenever I need to. Most of my family still lives in Albania too, so we go back there pretty often, visit my grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins. Pretty much everything, the food they cook, even like the way that they just interact with people.
Yeah, definitely through my family. I've been really fortunate to have had the opportunity to visit both India and France on multiple occasions and visit my family in those areas. So that's honestly the biggest way that I've stayed connected. I also speak French. My mom taught me French since I was born. And so I'm able to, anytime I meet someone from France, I'm able to communicate with them. That's a great way for me to stay in touch as well.
I would honestly say there hasn't been too much trouble for me. I feel like it's pretty easy to not necessarily blend in, but I think everyone's very inclusive. I think like from a broader standpoint though, no matter how I feel internally, there will definitely be other people who will judge based on the surface.
I think there are some disconnects that you do feel, because in certain communities, I feel like you're not Chinese enough to where you fit in with a fully, like, I guess, Chinese culture community, but then you're also not seen as like fully American. And so in certain communities you do have that kind of not necessarily stigma, but you do feel a little bit outside of the bubble in certain aspects. I think stuff like college admissions and going through like financial aid and stuff like that, I think you can kind of see the disconnect there. But overall, I think hasn't been something that's been detrimental to my experience growing up.
I didn't face too much discrimination or anything like that. Not too many issues, but again, it's sort of like I'm in a fraternity here at UVA, and the reality is that there's a large Caucasian community in fraternities here at UVA, and so when I was going through that process, at times I did feel a little out of place, but that was sort of the only thing. So yeah, I have met a couple French people. I know a couple of people who live in the French house here at UVA. I have a bunch of Indian friends and people in ISA that I'm friends with.
Indian Student Organization or Association, sorry. They're a big presence on grounds that's like supports the culture and is like made up of people that are similar backgrounds and upbringings.
I'm not in any particular student organizations that have a direct tie to my culture, but I think through a lot of student organizations I've been able to stay connected to people within that community. Things like Alpha Kappa Psi, which is a business fraternity, as well as Delta Upsilon, I've been able to find individuals that share a common background, and so I've been able to kind of stay connected in that sense. I think definitely at UVA it's been a lot better just because, like I said before, there have been more people that I feel like I've share a common background with, and so I think there have been more instances where I feel more a part of like a cultural community than I did in high school. I definitely know a lot more people from my culture at UVA as opposed to high school or previous experiences, just because I think the road to UVA brings a lot of like people from the same background or kind of same motivation, whether that be the same cultural background or same kind of upbringing. So I've been able to kind of find that kind of community here.
Probably like inherently, like subconsciously, just because like you know your parents sacrificed to put like me in a position to succeed better than they were. So there is that kind of inherent pressure. You try not to think about it. You just kind of try to do the best you can. So
I think I do. I think it's hard not to, in a sense, to feel that kind of pressure coming from immigrant parents, just because as I've grown up, I've been able to hear the sacrifices they had to make to be in the position where I am today. And I think you want to do right by that, and so I think that's kind of my mentality going into college, is trying to make the most of the opportunity. So their hard work, their sacrifices don't go to waste.
From these stories, we have learned the challenges that first and second generation students may face, but also how they are able to maintain their cultures as part of the UVA community. While navigating the experiences of being a first or second generation student can be challenging at times, UVA offers various resources to aid people from different backgrounds. The Multicultural Student Center, or MSC, helps connect students with multicultural backgrounds in order to maintain a connection to their identities and find supportive communities. With over 18 million international, first-generation, and second-generation college students in the United States, and over 500,000 in Virginia alone, it is important for society to understand the experiences of foreign-born and second-generation students and offer resources to allow them to maintain their culture.